Confidence is not something that appears overnight, nor is it something reserved for a select few fortunate people. It is something you build through deliberate practice, personal discipline, and the decision to improve a little more each day. When you first begin pursuing any passion, it is completely normal to feel uncertain, hesitant, and even doubtful about your abilities, but that feeling is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that you are standing at the beginning of growth. Every expert you admire once stood in that same place, wondering if they were capable, questioning if their efforts would ever pay off, and facing the quiet fear of failure. The difference is that they chose to continue, and in that decision, they began shaping a new self-image. As you repeat your efforts daily, your mind starts collecting evidence of progress, and this evidence slowly replaces doubt with belief. This is exactly what Joseph Murphy taught when he explained that the subconscious mind responds to what you consistently impress upon it through repetition and belief. When you practice with intention, your mind begins to accept the new story that you are capable, improving, and becoming skilled. At first, the progress may seem invisible, but something powerful is happening beneath the surface. Your focus becomes stronger, your movements become more precise, and your understanding becomes deeper. You begin to trust yourself, not because someone told you to, but because you have experienced your own growth. This kind of confidence is different from empty motivation because it is rooted in reality and personal proof. You no longer need constant reassurance from others because your results speak to you directly. With each small improvement, you begin to see challenges differently, no longer as threats, but as opportunities to expand your ability. You stop fearing mistakes and start using them as feedback. This shift is where real transformation begins, because your identity starts aligning with progress instead of fear. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes familiar, and what once felt impossible becomes achievable. You begin to carry yourself differently, speak differently, and think differently, because mastery changes not only what you can do, but who you believe you are. This is the quiet power of dedication. It reshapes your self-image from the inside out, and once that transformation takes root, confidence is no longer something you try to force, it becomes something you naturally live. As you continue walking the path of mastery, you begin to realize that confidence is not built in moments of comfort, but in moments when you choose to continue despite discomfort. There will be days when your progress feels slow, when your energy feels low, and when your mind tries to convince you that your efforts are not producing results. But these are the moments that matter most. These moments are where persistence is born. When you continue anyway, you send a powerful message to your mind that you are serious about your growth. You begin to develop trust in yourself, and that trust becomes one of the strongest forms of confidence you can ever possess. You no longer rely on motivation because you have built discipline, and discipline carries you forward when emotions fluctuate. This is where your identity begins to evolve. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is trying, and you start seeing yourself as someone who is becoming. Your standards rise naturally, and your commitment deepens without force. You become more patient with the process because you understand that mastery is not an event, but a transformation. Over time, your subconscious mind accepts this new identity, just as Joseph Murphy emphasized in his teachings about the power of repeated belief and mental conditioning. He explained that whatever you consistently believe and act upon becomes your reality, and this truth becomes visible in your daily actions. You begin to approach your passion with calm certainty instead of nervous hesitation. You no longer fear being judged because your focus shifts toward improving rather than proving. This inner shift frees your mind from unnecessary pressure and allows you to perform with greater clarity and presence. You also begin to notice that your confidence is no longer limited to one area of your life. It spreads into how you speak, how you make decisions, and how you face new opportunities. You trust your ability to learn, adapt, and grow, even when facing unfamiliar challenges. This is the reward of mastery. It gives you a foundation that cannot be taken away because it was built through your own effort. You understand that no one can hand you this kind of confidence, and no one can take it from you. It belongs to you because you earned it. As this realization deepens, fear loses its control over your choices. You become more willing to step forward, take risks, and expand your potential. You stop waiting for the perfect moment and begin using the present moment. This is when your life begins to change in meaningful ways, not because the world changed, but because you changed. The longer you remain committed to your personal mastery, the more you begin to notice subtle but life-changing shifts in the way you think and respond to the world around you. What once intimidated you now feels like a challenge you are prepared to face. Situations that previously created anxiety now create focus. This change does not happen by accident. It happens because you have trained your mind to associate effort with progress and progress with identity. Every repetition, every correction, and every lesson strengthens the internal image you hold of yourself. That image becomes the blueprint your subconscious follows. According to Joseph Murphy, the subconscious mind accepts what is impressed upon it with feeling and consistency, and once accepted, it begins working to make that belief real in your daily behavior. This means that each time you show up and practice, you are not only improving your skill, you are reprogramming your self-concept. You begin to expect yourself to improve, and that expectation alone changes your level of performance. Instead of hoping you can succeed, you start preparing to succeed. Preparation replaces fear because you know you have invested the time. You trust your preparation because it is real, measurable, and earned. This trust creates calmness under pressure. Even when facing difficulty, you remain steady because you have experienced your ability to adapt before. Another powerful change is your relationship with time. You stop chasing quick results and start respecting long-term growth. You understand that every meaningful ability requires patience, and this understanding removes the frustration that causes most people to quit. You become willing to repeat the basics, refine the details, and continue beyond the point where others stop. This willingness separates you from the version of yourself who once doubted. You begin to take pride in your consistency, not just your achievements. Consistency becomes your new standard. You no longer need external validation to confirm your progress because you can see and feel it internally. This internal validation is deeply empowering because it makes you independent from opinions and circumstances. Your confidence becomes stable instead of fragile. It remains with you whether you are praised or criticized because it is built on evidence, not approval. As this stability grows, you begin to aim higher, not out of ego, but out of belief in what is possible through continued effort. You become curious about your own potential. You begin asking yourself how far you can go, how much you can learn, and who you can become if you refuse to stop. This question becomes fuel for your future, and your future begins to expand in ways you once believed were impossible because you now understand that mastery is not a destination, but a lifelong process that continuously reveals stronger, wiser, and more confident versions of yourself. With every step forward, you reinforce the belief that your growth is unlimited and your confidence will continue rising as long as you continue practicing daily with purpose and faith in yourself.